Let us treat this like an investigation, because that is what it deserves. The collapse of Sheikh Hamdan's second marriage did not happen without cause. It did not arrive from nowhere. There was a specific event, a single decision taken in a specific month in a specific city that functioned as the point of no return, the London trip. May 2022. Sheikh Hamdan travels to England. He visits Sheikh, his first wife. He returns to Dubai, and from that point forward, every event that follows, the poem, the viral response, the argument, the departure, the four failed attempts at reconciliation, flows in a direct line from that one decision. It was not the only factor, but it was the trigger. Today we examine it the way you examine any significant event, carefully, layer by layer, without assumptions, following the evidence to wherever it leads. We will look at what the trip was, what it claimed to be, what it actually did to the people inside that marriage, and whether it deserves to be called what the title of this video calls it, Fazza's biggest mistake. Let us find out. Before we go into the layers of what the trip did, let us establish what we know for certain. These are the confirmed facts. FACT. In May 2022, Sheikh Hamdan traveled to the United Kingdom. Context. The visit coincided with time spent at his father's estate in Newmarket, England, a property used by the Maktoum family. Purpose. Official trip was framed as a family matter. Sheikh Mohammed had gently encouraged his son to reconnect with Sheikh. Purpose. A real. Hamdan visited Sheikh in London. This has been understood, though never officially confirmed, by those close to the situation. Not duration. The visit was not long days, not weeks. By any external measure, a brief family reconnection. Aftermath. Hamdan returned to Dubai. His second wife felt the change in him immediately. Within weeks, the poem was published. Within months, she was gone. That is the case file. A short trip. A family visit, nothing on paper that would seem capable of ending a marriage. And yet, Sheikh Hamdan travels constantly. Official visits, state business, international engagements. His life is one of sustained, purposeful movement across borders and time zones. So why did this trip, short, private, apparently unremarkable, become the pivot point of his entire marriage? Because of what Sheikh represents. She is not simply a first wife in the legal or official sense. She is, as his poetry makes unmistakably clear, the woman his emotional world orbits around. The connection between them is not historical in the sense of being finished, it is historical in the sense of being foundational. It existed before the official directions of his life, and it has persisted through all of them. Visiting her was not like visiting a colleague or attending a family obligation. It was like returning briefly to the version of himself that existed before duty and protocol and the weight of his position had organized his life around other priorities. And you do not return to that version of yourself, even briefly, even innocently, without bringing something of it back with you. That is what made this trip different, not what he did while he was there, what he could not help being when he left. The London trip did not destroy Hamdan's marriage in one blow. It destroyed it in 4 layers, each one following from the one before, each one adding a new dimension of damage to what had already been done. Layer 1. He came back different. What happened? When Hamdan returned from London, he was not the same man who had left. Not dramatically different, not visibly changed to the outside world, but his second wife, who had been paying close attention for months, felt the shift the moment he walked through the door. He was warmer, but the warmth was not directed at her. He was more present, but present in the way of someone who has just been reminded of what full presence feels like, not in the way of someone offering it to you. He carried something with him that had not been there before he left, a particular aliveness that she recognized painfully as belonging to someone else. Why? To destroy it, submitting? She could not confront what she could not name, and she could not name something she had no evidence for, only feeling, so she absorbed it, filed it, added it to the accumulation. But it changed the atmosphere of the palace from that point forward, in a way that could not be unchanged. Layer 2. It unlocked what the poem said. What happened without the London trip, the June poem might have read differently. It would still have been about Sheikh. His poetry had been trending in that direction for months, but it would have had the quality of memory, of longing for something in the past, Instead, it had something more immediate, more present. The poem did not read like a man missing someone. It read like a man who had just seen someone and been reminded with full force of everything he felt. The distinction between past longing and present feeling is everything. Past longing can be accommodated, present feeling cannot be competed with. Why I destroyed something. The trip gave the poem its urgency. Without it, the poem might have been survivable. With the knowledge that his wife now had, after feeling his return, that this was not memory but active present feeling, the poem became confirmation of something she could no longer explain away. Layer 3. It made the public exchange possible. What happened? Sheikh responded to Hamdan's viral poem with a video. That response, wordless, carefully composed, unmistakably an acknowledgement of his message, was the public moment that made everything visible. But Sheikh would not have responded if the poem had not felt like something newly urgent. And it would not have felt newly urgent without the trip that preceded it. The London visit was the private reconnection that made the public exchange feel natural, even necessary to the people inside it. Why did he steroid something for Hamdan's second wife? Watching Sheikh respond was the moment public confirmation arrived. The poem had told her something. The response proved it. And the trip, which she had accepted and perhaps even made peace with, was retroactively revealed as the moment that had made all of this inevitable. She had let him go. She had trusted that a family visit was a family visit. She had been wrong to trust that, not because he lied to her, but because she had underestimated what that particular door, once opened, would release. Layer 4. It answered a question she had been living with. What happened for months before the trip? His second wife had been carrying a question she could not directly ask and he could not directly answer. Is what you feel for her still active? Is it still present? Is it competing with what you have with me right now? Not as a memory, but as a living feeling? The London trip answered that question without either of them speaking it aloud. He went, he came back different. He wrote the poem, she responded. The sequence was, in its terrible clarity, its own complete answer. Yes, it is still active. It is still present. And now, the whole world knows it. Why? It destroyed something. You cannot unknow a truth once it has been confirmed. Before the trip, she had suspicions, feelings, observations, all of which could be argued with, softened, reinterpreted. After the trip and its consequences, she had confirmation. And confirmed truth, once absorbed, changes the architecture of how you see everything that came before it. Now, the question the title asks, was the London trip Fazza's biggest mistake? The easy answer is yes. Look at the timeline. The trip happened, and everything that followed led directly to the end of his marriage. Cause and effect clearly visible. But I want to offer a more careful answer. The London trip was not a mistake in the sense of being avoidable. Sheikh Mohammed asked his son to go. In a family like the Maktoums, in a culture where a father's wisdom carries the weight it carries, saying no to that request would have required a kind of defiance that Hamdan was not going to choose. He honored his father. He went. The trip was also not a mistake in the sense of having a clear alternative that would have produced better outcomes. If he had refused to go, if he had stayed in Dubai and tried to manage his feelings for Sheikh from a distance, those feelings would not have disappeared. They would have continued to inform his poetry, his silences, his emotional presence. The marriage would still have been navigating around the same underlying truth. The real mistake, if we are going to name one, was earlier. The real mistake was entering a second marriage while carrying feelings for a first wife that had never been resolved, not addressed, not processed, not honestly confronted. The London trip did not create that mistake. It simply made it impossible to keep pretending it was not there. I want to close the main section today with something that I think Fazza's London trip illustrates. Not just about his situation, but about the nature of unresolved things in general. We tend to believe that time resolves what we cannot face directly, that if we move forward, make new commitments, build new structures, invest in new relationships, the unresolved thing would quietly fade. That distance in time and the weight of new experience will gradually cover it over until it is no longer a problem. Sometimes that is true, and sometimes, when the unresolved thing is not a memory but a living connection, not a wound that has healed but one that has simply not been touched, time does not resolve it. It waits. It waits until circumstances create an opening, A father's advice, a family visit, a trip to London, and then it walks back in, fully present, unchanged by all the time that was supposed to have changed it. Sheikh Hamdan went to London thinking he was honoring his father's wisdom. He came back carrying the truth about himself that he had never fully put down. And his second wife, watching him return, feeling the shift, reading the poem, losing the marriage, paid the price of a truth that had been waiting for exactly that moment to finally arrive. The London trip that destroyed his marriage. 4 layers of damage, one trigger, and underneath all of it, a truth that had been present for years, waiting for the right moment to become undeniable. Was it his biggest mistake? Perhaps, or perhaps it was simply the moment when the biggest mistake, made years earlier when he married someone while his heart was not fully available, finally became visible. Either way, it changed everything. If this investigation gave you a new way of understanding one of the most discussed events in this story, please share it and subscribe if you are not already here. The next video continues this story in a direction we have not gone before. I will see you there.